Y'all ain't ready for this. Y'all didn't ask for it, but we bringing it to your front door. Or should I say your speakers? Look, I made it.
When you're working too hard, but they called it to come up.
You are listening to JPM Uncut, the realest wedding podcast.
Hosted by the man himself.
If you don't know the voice,
Justin Porter.
And my wifey for life.
Wifey.
Let's get it started. You know what it is. Oh, here we go. Yo, it's about time we really got to change the intro. Because every time it says wifey for lifey, I'm like, okay, this is uncomfortable now. We need to change it. We need to change it up. Like, babe, you've grown a nice beard.
I know. It looks fantastic, honey.
Trying to get at your wavelength. Right? All right. We're going to change it up. We're going to put that not Alex in there. We got to get to that. Need to add this to my schedule ASAP so we can get this done.
Little reboot. Yeah. It'll be good. It's okay for right now. It's still fun. It makes me laugh in my head every time.
For real. Like every time I forgot about it, and then I heard her voice come in. I was like, oh God, there we go. The wifey for lifey. Like, anyways, man. All right. So today's show, we got a lot of interesting things to talk about. And man, it's gonna be a fun show. We got to talk about, there's some stuff going around right now in the creator community. We got to address it. I feel like we just have to say something, being now that we're on this side of content creating and the whole, we gotta voice our concerns or just speak on it. I'm not gonna try to beat a dead horse. So
no, we gotta cover it. But
we gotta cover it.
But I don't know anything about it. This is what I'm excited for. I haven't really, I know a tiny bit, but you haven't really dove in. I've stayed away from the whole topic, so I'm fresh.
Okay, all right. So do we start there, or do you want to, because I know you also had another big win, and you did the interviews, and then you filmed the couple's wedding. Do you want to start there, or do you want to?
Yeah, let's start there. We'll start there, and then we'll end on the controversy, because you had a big win, too, with with your stuff. Yeah. I want to hear about that, too. Okay.
You first.
Okay, so last time we were here talking, it was about doing the interviews at their house and getting them to open up and everything like that. Well, I did end up shooting the wedding. Oh, night and day difference.
Man.
I mean, the amount of time that I saved that I could spend now with the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, not only that, but the relationship that I built with the couple, getting to know them outside of the wedding day and really getting to know their story. Man, we were just hitting off. We were like old friends on the wedding day. Like,
I was just about to ask, how was the energy when you obviously you already met them. So how was that energy showing up and just wedding day? It wasn't like
big hugs.
Yeah.
Right away.
That's dope.
She just came up to Stephanie and I and immediately just, oh my gosh, big old hugs and just so excited. It wasn't even a handshake. It was like the bro handshake where it's like bring in and wrap around and everything.
A little slight hug with one arm. Like, bro, that's the best because you don't have to feel like a vendor anymore. It's so much more personable when you've already had the experience of shooting with them, getting to know them a little bit, and just spending time with them. Like that part right there, most of us, we never get to do. We never get to spend time with our couples. We just show up and right out of the gate, it's like, all right, I got to put this mic on you. And then we're working all day.
Exactly. You don't really get to make that connection, that underlying connection of friendship or anything like that. It was so different. I've done engagement shoots where you kind of get to know them a little bit, but nothing like this. This was huge. And the rest of the day just went fantastic. It's going to be my favorite wedding.
I was going to ask you, how confident are you about your interviews and connecting it with the footage you got from the wedding?
I'm so excited. I've been holding it in a little bit from telling you this part. I want to do a trailer. I even want you to see and review some of the footage because when I'm filming it, during the interviews, I was like, okay, that makes a great cut. That sounds great, But once I started tying some of the stories in with the groomsmen, when they met, one of his groomsmen was there the night of.
Yep.
And one of the bridesmaids was there the night of. And all four of them, of course, they tell the same story, but everybody has a slight little twist to it.
Yeah, or something that wasn't, that was left out from this person. This person fills it in.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of get this whole complete picture. Yep. And then they were the good kind of wild, where it's like appropriate wild, like it didn't go too far.
Like
but it's
we're
like,
dancing, but we're not like, you know, like twerking uncontrollably. Like,
It's
like
not the
grandma still
X-rated,
approves
yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Grandma's gonna be out there like, yeah, get it, like, you know, like it was that kind of like
There was
high
no
energy.
get it sexy, get it sexy.
It was that like perfect borderline of like right amount of hype, right amount of energy. It never dipped and it never got out of control. You know,
That's dope.
The drinks were at the right level. Like everybody was having fun. Nobody drank too much. You know, we've all been there where it's a little too much.
It's a little too much. Even for the reality TV style, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go get some cake. I'm gonna take a 15. Like,
This is a little too much reality.
yeah, this is a little too much. I don't even know if they want this. I'm gonna just I'm gonna walk over here.
Yeah, but I already have like a whole bunch of cuts planned out in my head. And when I can see the cuts in my head, I know I'm excited. Like, you know, like I already know where I'm going to cut like some of the stuff where he's talking about, you know, I don't want to give too much away, but you know, he's sitting there talking about the first time they met. And then I guess it went hot and heavy quick. And then they were both like, okay, well, you know, we're both very religious. We need to bring God back into this and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to cut scenes. She just straight up, when they were cutting cake, she just took a whole bite out of her cake.
Okay. He didn't feed her?
Well, they did, but then she was just having a good time and they were laughing and we were like, do it, do it, do it. Her bridesmaids were saying that and she just stuck her face just right in the cake and took a big old bite.
Dude, I love how excited you are for the edit because I feel like that, like, it's so weird to say, man. Like, I feel like, you know, like a lot of people know, like, I had a lot of stuff happen within the last year. So for me, I feel like I haven't felt that, you know, excitement in a long time. Like, I love every couple, you know, like if one of my couples watches this, I have fun at your wedding. But I mean, like, authentically just being at a level where, you know, my mental health, I feel good, the shoot is good, the couple, you know what I mean? It's been a while, and I'm seeing this like this joy. Like, I can see it in you, like, bro, you're ready. You're ready for this trailer. Like every other couple, hopefully none of your couples are watching right now, but you know, you got to streamline this one. This edit's they'll understand. You got to get this one out.
Yeah, and we were talking about that right before. I mean, I know we're not supposed to talk about, you know, we try so hard. We try so hard not to, like, you know, keep it in and keep it for the podcast, but
as soon as we see each other, like, it's like
it just comes out. It just comes right out of us. No, I want to jump the edit, and I know that I can't. Like, I know that I got a log that I got to work through, and that's fine. You know, I'm just gonna keep those cuts in my head. I might kind of like tinker with it a little bit. Yeah. You know, I imported everything. I highlighted the clips already, just so like I knew where those things were. When it's time,
you know where to go. Yeah.
Just so I don't lose that creativeness. Like, you know, when I get down to it, I don't want to be like, what was it again? You know, where was I gonna do that cut? No.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what's even better about that? Because I felt the same way, and I used to like write stuff on stickies, but now after forgetting about the footage, it's you go back into it because right now you remember, like, I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna use that, I'm gonna use this, and then you fixate on it. And it's kind of the same as like showing up to an interview with a list of questions. Like, you're not gonna explore anything else because you're just gonna focus on your questions. But I even now, like, I love when I forget what took place. Like, I remember a gist, like, oh, this couple had a lot of fun, or the reception was lit, or it was super emotional, but I don't remember what my interviews were. I don't remember what my sound bites were like. So exploring it again, I was able to, like, you know, piece together better edits because it was new to me again. It wasn't like something that was fresh. Not saying that you're still not going to put together something dope, but it's not a bad thing that you got other edits, because now you'll slowly forget about certain parts of the day, and then when you go back to it, it's going to be like, oh,
it's going to all refresh, like rush back over me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I didn't even know I got this. Oh, I got this interview. I forgot all about that. Like, it's going to be like, it's going to be dope. It's going to be dope.
I'm super excited. And I like that perspective. I never really thought of it that way. You know, like, you want to dive in so quick that, you know, let it kind of
marinate a little.
Marinate. Yeah, that's a good word. See, now you're hitting with the strong words. You know?
I looked at my thesaurus, okay? So I'm ready. Like, I got words, like, we're loaded with them, bro.
I'm going to have to up my game again, start flipping through the dictionary.
What'd you say last time? What was the word? Do you remember?
I don't know, but it was a wrong word. I totally made it up.
I know, but it sounds so good. Like, dude, the way you said it, it was just like in sentence. It was just like you kept going. It was like, that was spot on.
I'm going to, like, I'm gonna rewatch it, figure out that word. I'm gonna make a Wikipedia page. It's gonna become a word.
You got to do it.
It's gonna be in the vocabulary now. It's a thing.
Well, I think, we were talking a little bit about like getting back to that joy. And I feel like this past weekend for me, my big win was actually the fact that I pushed in different ways where like, for example, I felt like creatively I was in a much better place to just have fun with it again. Like, that's so weird for me to say because I'm always like, I love what I do and I put 100% effort into every wedding. But this wedding didn't feel like work. It actually felt like I was, like beginning it right. Like I really felt like I was just having fun. Like I was having a good time. I was trying things that, I didn't necessarily need to do or was like too many steps to do, but I did it anyway. Like one of the things is like I flew to this wedding. And so, the hurdles of flying, you can't take I for sure can't take my entire kit because it's just way too much stuff. But I was there and I was like, you know what? I'm going to show up. I need a light. So I packed up one of the Suray lights. I was like, I need my NTG8. I don't want to miss the opportunity of doing cocktail hour interviews. Like there was a lot of things that I had to pack that was going to make the process more complicated flying to do. And I did it anyway. And so getting past that obstacle, I felt like was already a win. But then the day of the wedding, actually the day of the rehearsal dinner, I was just trying to map out how am I going to make better use of my time, right? Mm-hmm. Rehearsals, and this is from my own experience, rehearsals never really make my wedding films. Like they're not as, like nothing really happens, right? Like they walk through it and then it's over. And then like rehearsal dinners, it's very similar. Like people show up, they greet, they talk a little bit, and then they eat, and that's pretty much it.
That's where you can make good connections.
Yep.
That's a good place to make connections first. Like I usually just deliver that to them. I don't put it in the film. It's just like, here's your rehearsal stuff. But
what could we do to make that time more suitable for not just like delivery, right? Like it's great you can send them footage, but like if we're going to spend the time there as creators and filmmakers, like how can we maximize on this time? And it was just me because Josh, my assistant, flew in Saturday. And so I was just there at the rehearsal by myself. So I was like, I had no coverage. And so in my head, I was like, if I'm going to be here until 10:30, and then have to turn around and shoot the wedding, what could I do tonight that I know I can't do tomorrow? And I was just like, interviews. Easy. I was like, let's do interviews.
Interviews all the ways.
Bro, but then I was like, I had the light. I had the Suray light. There was a nice little setup. It wasn't the best, but it looked, it was really good. It looked really nice. Had practical lights in the background. And I felt so good. Like I got to talk to about 15 people and got tons of story, bro. Like how they met. I got to know Ava a little bit, got to know Sabrina a little bit, got to talk about their own individual lives. Got grandma to spill the beans about a lot of stuff. Like it was really good. And then I felt more just literally walking away from the rehearsal dinner. I went into the wedding day like, okay, I'm ready. Like I felt so much more creative just from the fact that I had already did something that before I might not have done, especially flying to it. I just felt like I pushed past a lot of barriers. And I know I said this at the beginning of the year, I want every wedding this year to be a portfolio piece. And I think what I did this past weekend is walking it down that path, walking in the right direction of like not accepting, oh, I flew here, so I can't do that. Or they didn't pay for interviews, but they paid me to film the rehearsal dinner. So I was like, look, let's do the story. Let's do what we do and try to figure out more about them individually and as a couple.
And I really think that both of us, what we did over this past weekend, it's good for not just our couples, but for us, for the industry. Mm-hmm. It's real easy to get complacent. It's real easy to kind of, try to fall in line, stick with the formula, play it safe, but it doesn't fuel your soul. Like, we both worked outside of what we would normally do, had great experiences and really pushed the boundaries. That's what we did this for. Yeah. That's why we do this, is try new things.
Yep.
That's how the whole reality thing was born.
Right, literally. And then that's like, speaking of that, that's what made me feel like I was, because like right now I feel like I'm hitting another brick wall, right? Like I feel like I've gotten to a certain point and now I'm hitting this wall, but the only problem now is I have no idea why this wall is here. That makes sense? Like,
it does.
Like before, I was burned out with shooting cookie cutter films, and I wanted to tell stories, right? That was the wall. I got to be a storyteller. I knew what that was, and I knew what I needed to do to get past it. But now it's like I'm hitting another kind of hurdle, and I can't really identify it. And I feel like a lot of it is mixed emotions around how we're filming, how it looks, how we're, evolving. And I think what I did this past weekend of pushing and still trying to uncover story and just do the things that creatively made me happy, I was like, okay, that's where I think that wall is, I still can't identify. I don't know if that's 100%, but I know I felt a whole lot different last weekend than I have at most of the weddings I've had this year. Not saying that I filmed any of them bad. I just mean from a creative outlet perspective. I was in a much better place to just have fun. Like I had a good time,
That's good. Maybe, you're saying you're hitting another wall. Maybe, seeing this new thing that you're doing, you're kind of peeking between the lines of the wall. You can see the other side a little bit. You haven't broken through, but you're at that point.
I can see that it's bright over there.
There's light.
There's light. Like the grass is good. Like they've got like doves flying in the air. Like it's beautiful. But I'm just like looking. I only see that
right now. But
bro, this is the thumbnail. Hit us with it right here. No, seriously though. Like I feel like I just had fun, man, and I worked my butt off. Josh, I love working with him. He's super creative in his own way, but he still doesn't know the beats to the day. And the last time I filmed with him, we weren't doing things during cocktail hour. Like we weren't doing interviews. And so a lot of the stuff that I was doing was new that I either had to explain to him or just do on my own. And so, being able to push past it and still feel this like joy, it's so weird, man. Cause I love filming, and I think a lot of people know that, but I just felt, I felt like nothing mattered in the moment. Like nothing about how much work this is going to take or how much effort this is going to be or how many times I got to do it. Nothing felt bad about it. Like it just was like, do it anyway. And yeah, so I did.
That's good. That's that like creative push. That's like what we all strive for when you get that level of excitement and,
I've missed it.
Yeah, that's such a unique feeling. I hope everybody else has felt it or gets a chance to feel it, where you feel creative and you feel on top of the world.
Yep. And you push past things because I think that's a big thing is like we will think of what it takes to get something done and talk ourselves out of it.
Always, yeah.
like for example, the podcast. We're like, yeah, bro, let's shoot the podcast. And then if we had to like put all these lights up, set up the mics, like every time, we're gonna be like, we'll do the podcast next week.
Yeah, we'll push it off. It'll be fine. And then it never happens.
It never happens. And then that's just another missed opportunity. And I think because we do that as creators, that's what puts us in this burnout phase. It's not that we hate our job or we hate what we're doing, but it's the things that we know we would enjoy doing. We talk ourselves out of it because of the process or the amount of effort it's going to take. And then that puts us in a spot where we're now stuck doing things in loop and we feel like we're not going anywhere.
Or the fear that it's not going to turn out the way you don't want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's what's held me back a lot of times. But then, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes I try things and it didn't work out, but sometimes you try things and it does work out. Or you learn it's something new from the way that you failed before. I know that sounds like kind of cliche, but it is true.
It's true though.
It really is true.
That's literally how I feel like I've progressed with the style is every time I face, like for example, I needed sound bites from my receptions. I didn't want it to be a music video. How do we do that? I was like, well, the only other part of the day that I really don't do a lot is cocktail hour. And I was like, oh, what are people doing during cocktail hour? They're talking, having a good time. I was like, oh, what could I be doing? Interviews. Like, it was like, you know what I mean? Like, just like to your point, it wasn't a problem until you realized you needed to solve something, right? Like I didn't know that sound bites in the evening was a problem until I was editing this way and realized that once we get past the ceremony, there's no more dialogue. And I realized, I was like, I don't like that. I don't want it to go back to montage. I want it to keep progressing and show different elements. And so that's where, let's do interviews during cocktail. That's how that whole idea came about. So like you said, like it's not about trying things and failing and settling, because you might not make it the first time, or it might not work the way you wanted it to, but that progression and that, constant, determination to get it better is what's going to keep you going. And I think for me, that's where that creative joy comes from.
Yes.
Like when I solve a problem, or when I figure out like, okay, I need to do this better, and I lock in on that, that's where I'm just like, I'm throwing everything I got. Like until it looks or sounds or is the way that I, envision it to be.
What's funny too is you're talking about, I had the same problem for a while. I couldn't figure out how to get more audio later in the evening. Mm-hmm. But what I still didn't do cocktail hour. You were doing cocktail hour, or have been doing cocktail hour. I was pulling people out during the reception. I would take them outside and just like blast them with a little light, like a little like aperture MC, and just get little sound bites. Like, what do you think of this party? How's it going? Who's dancing the best? Just like little things like that, just so they would say like one-off thing that I could just throw in. So the reception wasn't just so like, I feel like that's the part that I always had a music montage. Like it was always a music video all the time. And it didn't stop up until the exit. And so it's funny, we had the same problem, but we attacked it in two different ways.
But we knew it was like we had this. This is a great point, because I feel like I say this all the time. Like it's not my style, or it's not my way. I feel like literally what you just said is proof, because we had the same problem. It's just like the saying, like you can skin a cat in 10 different ways. Sorry, any animal activists. But like that's kind of like the thing though, right? Like we both knew we had the same problem. We didn't want, montage. So we knew we needed dialogue. I decided to do it at cocktail hour. You decided to do it at the reception. But the results and the effort was the same. Like we still got what we needed to change up how the ending was.
And I've gotten so many great clips just from doing that. I know you have too. Like, certain things that people like, in my head, I was like, okay, cocktail hour, they're starting to drink, they're hanging out, they're warming up. Reception, they've already had some drinks. Like
they're ready.
They're ready. They're ready to open up. Like they're ready to talk to me.
Yeah,
like,
man. I remember when they got engaged, man. I think I was there about, it was amazing. Like, dude, the sound bites are hilarious.
Yeah, I think my favorite sound bite is one of those where I got the mom and dad of the groom to come out and they were talking about naked night. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh my gosh! Like, it was the funniest thing. They weren't drunk, but they were a little tipsy. Again,
they were feeling good.
Yeah, the appropriate amount. They're great mom and dad, and they were like, giving this message to their kids, their new daughter-in-law and their son. And you could, I didn't even see the bride and groom, and they were already blushing. Like that's how embarrassing it was. Like a perfect dad moment, kind of like, I'm
gonna say the most off the wall thing, just so that they don't. But what I love about that too is this is what I love about our style is that it allows people to be themselves in the video.
Yes.
So like if you knew that was how your parents are in real life, but in the video they were completely different, you're gonna know that that's not authentic. Like if you expect your dad to always be telling jokes and be funny and witty, and then he's in the video and he's just like super serious and uptight, you're gonna be like, that's not the guy I grew up with. Yeah, you're gonna want that energy and that personality. So I don't know if you put that in the film, but that definitely would have made one of my cuts, or at least the trailer.
Heck yeah, it did. I even posted it on its own, just in my stories, or I made a reel of it.
Oh, dope.
And it did really well. I waited until after I delivered the film because I wanted them to see it first. I didn't tell them. I just threw it in there.
It was like, here's your film.
How are they going to take this? I don't know how either they're going to absolutely love it, or they're going to be like, hey,
you got to take that out.
Can you just take that one part out? It's a little. No, they loved it. They were so excited to hear their parents talk about naked night. Like, because like you said, that's who they were. They were goofy parents. They were silly. They were silly the entire time. So that was them. That, like you said, that's a perfect way of putting it. It was them being them, and it's a personalized message that they'll never forget.
Yeah, and if anything was to ever happen to them, because it was the groom's parents, you said.
Correct.
He will know, like, he'd be able to watch that video and see his parents' real personalities. And I think that's like the real key thing. Like that's.
Can you imagine looking back on your parents and naked night?
like showing their grandkids, like, yeah, let me show you what my mom and dad are like. And but still, it's like, like that. It's just dope because you're putting real emotions, real family, relationships and personalities in the video,
Yes. And I think that's what we're striving for. And when we accomplish that, like, you hit your mark. And you're like, yes. Like, it's those little wins.
And then you drive for it again. Like, I think it's almost like that. I've never been high, but I'm only going to use this reference because I've seen it and heard about it in multiple movies. So, but that reference of like, it's like getting high for the first time. Again, I don't smoke. I've never been high. But that reference of like, oh, you're always chasing that first high. I feel like that's exactly what this is, with video. It's like you have a really great moment, you shoot a really great interview, or you tell a really great story, and now you're chasing that joy, that high again of like, I got to do it again, but better. I want to do this better. I want my sound to be better, or I want lighting, or whatever it is. Like you kind of chase that and try to multiply that emotion, times 10.
And that's what feels good. Like you said, it's a high. It's a good high. It's like a positive high. It's not like, I
feel like we're starting to, like, this is becoming a thing because the last episode we had a crazy moment about climax in films, and now we're like getting high, and it's like, wait a minute, like
it was foreplay. Filmmakers foreplay. It was like,
yeah. We're like, all right, like,
I digress. We're just making up words.
We're just making up words. Like people are gonna listen to this and feel like I don't know what just happened, but we heard a lot of things happen. Like we're on to something else.
And I got to bring up one more thing because I don't want to forget about this. There was another win. There was another win this weekend, and it was with you, and it was at the airport.
Oh,
the cart,
bro.
The cart.
Dude, like, man, I will go get this cart right now. Dude, when I tell you, okay.
You should, yeah.
Bro, this couldn't have been. First off, let's start with the problem, because I think a lot of people think that we made the cart because I was skimping out on paying $10 for a cart at the airport.
That's a bonus. That's a $10 bonus.
That's a $10 bonus. It is a great win, but that's kind of like one of the features that's listed, but it's like at the bottom of the feature list. It saves $10. Like, that's at the bottom. Like, I didn't care about that. Here's what my problem is. So I fly out of the airport most of the time by myself, unless it's me and Alex and we fly somewhere together. But I'm flying by myself, which means I've got my super big think tank bag. I got my Pelican bag. I got my roller think tank. I got my backpack. Sometimes there's an extra case if I got lights in it.
There's a lot.
And it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Carrying all this with one person, you need a cart, right? Like, you have to have a cart. The issue is not paying the $10. The issue is getting all the bags to the location of where the carts are at.
Convenience.
Because at every airport, you get dropped. Like, I get a shuttle from the airport where I park my car. I get a shuttle to the airport. You got to get off that shuttle. You got to walk all the way across, the 2-lane intersection thing across. And then you got to go inside and get your cart. I can't leave my film gear just standing and sitting up outside. I have to carry this and haul it with me. Some airports, like Baltimore, we flew to Baltimore, bro, and this is where we used it for the first time. The getting from baggage claim to where the rental car center was a hike. Like, it took me like 4.5 minutes, bro. Like, I'm not even joking.
Oh, wow.
It was a legit walk, bro. And it was just a straight walk, but it was outside, and it was just all the way down at the end. And that's where the buses went. And so I had to carry all this stuff out there. But what we did is we made this cart, bro, the cheapest, best $20 investment we've made. And it snaps into the back of the Pelican case. And it's also only 8 pounds. So we were able to put it inside the Pelican case when it's time to fly. But like, bro, I'm telling you, that's the best. Like, that needs to be a product. If Pelican doesn't, make something like that, I'm going to figure out a way to manufacture it. And we just got to get this thing going. Because that was a lifesaver.
I can only imagine, like, how many times have we been, like, complaining about our forearms? Like, you're walking, you're like, oh.
You keep taking breaks, lift up and switch arms. Like, dude,
just the convenience, like what you said, like having to go, like, it's right there. You get off the shuttle, you just slap it on, and you just walk right past that $10 cart. That's where the $10, you're like, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even tell you about this. The biggest hack, right? I can turn the cart. Like, literally, I could do a full 360 in place. So when you're trying to maneuver through the lines, right? Like where the TSA ropes are, bro. I can just go and then,
It's like an IKEA thing.
bro. It was like it's literally like an IKEA cart where it's just like
All
that's exactly how it was.
directions.
All directions, bro. Like there was no turn I couldn't make.
That's
Like I'm watching other people struggle with theirs, trying to like lift it and pull it, and I'm just like,
that's the hack.
yeah.
And then the whole $10 thing, that just makes you feel good. It's not even a bonus. Like you just walk past it, you see like,
Yeah, I'm gonna start adding it up from here on out. I'm just every time I see one, because in Maryland there was $6. I think it's $7 in Austin, but I'm gonna just start adding it up because like you're saving money.
2.5 flights, it's paid for itself.
Easy. Well, this trip it paid for itself because there and back.
Yeah,
That's it.
it
I'm
paid
done.
for itself. You're already in the black. Like,
Yep. I'm saving now. It's just a dope and the fact that you can travel, the media pass up to 100 pounds in your media bags. So with all my gear that I had in the big Pelican and the cart, it was 86 pounds. So I was able to show up to the airport, push everything in, and then once I get to where you got to check the bag, you pop I popped everything off and slapped it on the inside, and then threw it up there, and we're done. Like it's safe. The cart's not gonna get damaged because it's inside the Pelican. And then you show up at the airport, you go to baggage claim, pull it out, undo the latches, put it back on the bottom, stack everything up. I'm telling you, dude, that 4.5 minute walk in Maryland, I was just grinning ear to ear. Like I was like, yo, this is wild. Like it was crazy.
I wish we'd have gotten a shot of that. That would have been like such a funny. I could just see you just like grinning, just walking by. Like,
Because it was a breeze, man. And then we didn't even talk about the little nubs that we put on it so that it locks into. Like, man, I
doesn't
posted
move.
this. I posted this on my Instagram. So if y'all want to see what this cart looks like, go to my Instagram, Justin Porter Media, and watch it. Like there's a part 1 and a part 2. Part 2 shows the little nubs. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
you can really see how high energy he is about how great this is from those videos. You really should just go watch them. Like,
And it's not even I'm telling you, like you will want to do it. If you fly with Pelican cases, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to go to Harbor Freight. You're going to do it. It's that good.
and it was easy. How long did it take us to do this? We eyeballed it. We didn't even measure.
We didn't
just,
even measure. And the measure, bro, that was the best. We can wing it. That was the best. Because we should have measured to make sure, but you were like, all right, let me mark it, put a little dot. Like, dude, the pins went straight in, no wiggle, no shifting.
just locked into place.
It was the best, bro.
It goes over all the little. Yeah, it's just like, go watch the video. Just watch the video.
Go watch
Just-
the video.
Just go watch it. It
I
all
wish we
makes
could
sense.
play it for you, but you got to go watch it and check it out. But man,
Yes.
there's actually, so we this was a great discussion, but I know a lot of people clicked on this because we had it. We did what a lot of people hate. We clickbaited you.
We did.
We clickbaited you, but there's a lot of heat happening right now in the creator YouTuber space, and being someone who is a creator and a YouTuber and a influencer, if you want to call it that, I feel like I have to say something, or at least just gotta shed light that I see what's happening, and we'll have a quick discussion about it. But I know you don't know a lot about it.
No, I know very little about it. I stayed away from it. You told me not to look anything up.
I wanted to save it for the podcast.
Yeah, so I did, which is hard for me because I'm a gear guy. I love numbers. I love specs. That's what I go to first.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to read is the specs list. I want to know what we got. What are we working with? And I didn't. So let's do it.
There's a lot of angles in how one person can look at what's happening. And the angle that I'm going to go with is more along the lines of the clickbait, false advertisement. That's kind of how I would describe it, But in short, what happened is LUMIX, Panasonic, they had a full brand trip where they flew some creators out to Japan, put them up for a week, gave them a camera, the LUMIX S9, and just told them to have fun with it, right? There really weren't any requirements from the brand in terms of hey guys, go say a bunch of nice stuff. The issue is that there's a lot of talk about people being bought, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, and not even from other influencers, but a lot of people that are watching influencers and that support influencers feel like they are the person or the people that they're watching, they're getting forced, decisions or emotions from a brand because of a brand, because of a trip, or because of, they paid you or they endorsed this video, whatever. Now you're obligated to say nice things. So I think it'll all make sense, but I got some audio because a lot of this heat happened after Gerald Undone went on X and Threads. He posted this everywhere. Like everybody was going to see it. Gerald's dope. Right?
I love Gerald. So whatever he says, I'm going to be probably biased to what he says, honestly, just because I watch all of his stuff,
I feel like he's the most unbiased person. I feel like, especially in a video review, and this is big for me to say because Gerald doesn't, at least from what I understand, he's not like an active shooter. He's more of a film tech reviewer. And because of that, he's not swayed in any decision, right? Like if he had a corporate project every week, he'd be swayed to use a certain brand because it works for his business. Because he's not he's not running a production company per se, and he's not actively shooting, he's not got, phased by any camera system. He can be open and honest about all of them and talk about them however he wants because it's like, whatever. Like, I don't really...
He's just looking at the facts.
He's just looking at the facts. He's testing it, and he's providing that knowledge and that information to us as the viewers. So his opinion is always unbiased because he's like, oh, I don't care. Like Sony's not paying me to do this. Blackmagic, they're not paying me to say this. And so he's like, whatever. But he started it with a whole post that was kind of initiated from the creators that went to the LUMIX trip. And then he followed it up with a video that's a good 30 minutes or so. And he posted this video on YouTube, and we got audio. So yeah. I want to play a clip of this audio and let you listen to it, and then we'll talk about it. So let's play it.
Okay.
Instead of an S5 II review, I was going to turn my S5 II review into screw LUMIX, and here's why. And I didn't, because I thought people actually need to know about this camera. It's a good camera, and I want people to hear, hopefully, a fair review from me that isn't bogged down by all this. But I think there was also some of the feedback that I got from some of my friends who I think were doing it with the right intention were saying, if you make that video, man, it's over for you. LUMIX is never going to talk to you again. And I thought, yeah, that's a good point. And I do, and then now looking back on that, that's that negative consequences. That's, you can't say what you want to say because they'll never talk to you again. And that's what the commenters are right about. There is that. But I was wrong. And do you know why I was wrong? Because I hadn't said anything negative about them leading up to that point, and they canceled me from going to Japan before I had ever made a video roasting them. So what does that mean? It means that we're disposable as creators. You may think that you made a video on the S5 that called it like perfect, it just needs better autofocus. And I did. You may have made a video on the GH5, on the S1, on the S1H, on the S1R, what all the damn LUMIX cameras, and be like, this is fantastic, I love this, oh, Vlog's so good, oh, this is great, maybe a better autofocus, I think they need better autofocus, but this is great, can you believe they put this shutter? And then they'll go, what, did he call it strange? No, no Japan, get him out of here.
All right, I think you get the gist.
I do.
Of his energy.
I do, and he brought up some valid points about being replaceable and everything like that. Like if they don't hear what they want to hear, then they're going to cancel you. But I mean, let's just face it, like it's not that great of a camera.
And even if we take the whole S9 out of the equation, I think what a lot of people are really trying to address and express, especially because I've been down the rabbit hole, dude. I've probably watched at least 15 different people. Some of these people got 500 followers. Some of these people are other big YouTubers. I've watched rebuttals from other content creators, and I'm staying nameless just from the sake of like, I'm not here to, I don't want to sway and push people. I'm not doing that. Like that, I don't, for that part of it, I could care less. Like I could care less like what other people are saying and how they're reacting, whatever. I'm just watching it because I'm trying to understand where majority of our industry lies, like the content creator side. And if we take the LUMIX camera out of the equation and we really dissect Gerald's message, what I get is he is expressing the fact that a lot of creators, right, a lot of people who are on this side, and I'm speaking from a point of like I was at one point on the other side where I was watching, like I wasn't a creator, right? I was just watching everybody else just like everyone else does. And now I've made this shift within the last 2 years where I'm now on the influencer side. But what Gerald is saying is that a lot of people will, regardless of what the product is or how bad it is, they will still praise it and make content about it, even just to maintain the relationship with the companies, with the brands. And I think, I can only speak from a real scenario. And I think you're going to laugh, but you know probably what I'm talking about. The Rode Wireless Pro dropped. And I didn't hold back. Like my first video, I literally went in and I didn't care about, this is being respectful, right? Like I didn't care about brand relationship. I cared about the people who are going to watch and purchase this product and are going to be misled. And not only that, but it was a product and it had a feature with a significant flaw that wasn't being talked about that I wanted to address. And I wanted people who at least followed me and supported me and trusted me with, providing facts. I wanted them to know, like, listen, if this is what you're going to go after, here's why you don't need to do it. And here's what Rode needs to stop doing. So I went in, I didn't hold back. And I feel like majority of our industry would have done the exact opposite, would have turned a blind eye or turned the other cheek, and they would have just praised the Rode Wireless Pro, which a lot of people did, and they talked how great it would be, but they all failed to address the true problem with its road code, as we called it, time code. They failed to address that. And I think what Gerald is saying is that because a brand takes you on a trip or they pay for you to join them for a product launch or they sponsor a video, that should not sway your decision in saying nice things. You should never try to maintain your brand relationship if your job is to provide a review or feedback to people who are following you, who are trusting your judgment and trusting what you say.
And I agree with that. But then there's also, do you think if Gerald was there, he would have said what he said? Like if he was in Japan?
100%.
You think so?
The only reason why I would say I feel like Gerald would have still reacted the way I don't think he would have said what he said like in that statement, only because of the fact that he was on the trip. I think what he would have done is he would have completely ripped that camera apart in a video that would have been against everybody else. Because a lot of the other creators are talking about how great it is, and they still speak on the flaws. I'm not saying that they're not, but they're praising it more than they're talking about, who it's actually for and why this camera exists. And I think Gerald would have been one of the people who would have, with his platform, would have been one of the ones that would have completely derailed LUMIX's entire vision for that marketing campaign. And so to me, I feel like if he was on that trip, and he says this in his video, he says he was invited or they told him that he wouldn't be able to go because they knew he wouldn't like the camera. And to me, I feel like that's kind of like for a brand to say, like for me to say like, Alex, listen, man, I was gonna bring you, but I know you're not gonna have a good time. And I need people that's gonna come to have a good time and say that they had a good time at the JPM boot camp. So that's why I didn't bring you. Like
man, I'm already
right?
angry.
You're already mad. It really puts a sour taste. And I think what he's really just trying to do is just like let people know that brands, like he said, we're disposable, right? Like, for example, my influencer creator life sparked up basically last year, honestly. Last year was our big year in content creation. And so I came out of nowhere, right? Like I wasn't actively on YouTube. I wasn't actively doing anything. And then like overnight, boom, here's JPM. And now he's this wedding filmmaker who is influencing people. And so I feel like what Gerald was saying is like, we're disposable. Tomorrow's going to be another creator. And that's going to be another idea, another, perspective of a product. And a brand may say, oh, forget you, Alex. You said our camera's bad. We're not using you anymore. We're going to use not Alex, who's now popular. Like,
but you know what? I think that the industry needs that. It needs that because with like Rode or anything else, if somebody doesn't challenge the market on what's wrong, then what's going to make them change to improve it?
Yeah.
What's going to make them want to do it? They're just going to keep making horrible products because they're just going to buy people off. And then the consumer is going to be
always going to be misled.
It's
like
always
how
going to
many
be misled.
How many times have you bought something and swore up and down that this was the right thing, and then you got it, and it was exact opposite of what the review said.
It happens. You know, that's
Bro.
why you got to watch like 10 reviews, and you got to look up. Well, sometimes I'll specifically look up a bad review just to see, are there bad reviews? Like,
Yeah.
I got to know. Nothing's perfect, and that's okay. But, you know, with Road Code, like, you made it. You know what? I hope that Gerald gets a camera. Like, I'll pitch in with him just so he can
Just
do
so
an
he can
honest
review it.
review. Like, hey, look, like, I bought you this camera. Like,
Yeah.
you know, go ahead and review it. Just do it unbiased. If you're, you know, just looking at the specs alone, I'm going to say it's a shrinkflation camera.
I feel like that one, like looking at the spec sheet, I just feel like on paper, it had
already-
more flaws than it did. You know, it had way more cons than it did pros. And I think what's unsettling about it is that a lot of the people who are pros that reviewed it are praising it more than it probably deserves. And I'm saying that loosely because everybody's workflow is different. You know what I mean? Like I use a ZV-1 as a reality camera, and I don't think anybody is shooting a wedding with a ZV-1. So I feel like depending on the workflow, yes, that's subjective. But I think on paper, you know, for the price, I would rather buy 2 or 3 ZV-1s than buy one Lumix. It just, there's a lot of things about it that had, and I have Lumix cameras, so it's not even like I'm a Lumix hater. We got the S5 and the S5 II sitting in the case that we use at every wedding.
And they do great.
They do great. I don't think they make bad cameras at all. I just think the marketing tactic, and I think hearing Gerald say it from someone who's probably been at least coerced, is that the right, how did I say it right?
Yeah.
Coerced.
Dang,
I
you
feel
really
like
did pull up the thesaurus.
yeah, bro. I mean,
you went all out.
I'm trying, dude. Try to use these big words, try to look educated. But no, like I feel like a lot of people, you know, Gerald's at a point where in his journey where like brands will he will get every product because he's that tech reviewer that brands know he's gonna put out an honest review, and it's gonna do numbers. Every time he puts out a video, a review, you look at a new camera review, like his videos do numbers, good or bad. And so, but I think the problem is when brands try to motivate or force reviews because of a trip or because of, you know, certain opportunities. And a lot of the people that are new into the, you know, influencer world, they fear of losing the chance of having those opportunities again. Right? So, I'm just going to say all the nice things. I'm going to be real positive. That way, like the next year when Lumix does a Japan trip, they invite me back. I'm going to go again. Or, you know, it's more of like they're trying to maintain that relationship. When I personally think if you're going to be a content creator or influencer and you're going to be a camera tech reviewer, I feel like you should be reviewing products regardless of the brand relationship. Because if you do bash this camera, Lumix, this is a pre-production. Lumix might go back to the drawing board and fix a few things. They may give it a firmware push, just like when everybody hated the fact that the FX3 didn't support timecode. And then like months later, there was a firmware update. Oh, now all of a sudden, guys, we can jam. Like it was available. So I think that's what our job as influencers should be. It shouldn't just be making a review that is always, you know, this is the best thing ever. This is great. This is great. It should always be honest, because the same thing we did with Rode, we completely, you know, openly talked about it. And they ended up changing their manual. They changed a few of their videos. They refilmed a few, like
Their website.
They
their website
righted
was
their
completely
wrongs.
different.
Yeah, the website was different. They took verbatim off. And I think because they did that, that's why I took my videos down. It was like, okay, look, I don't need to keep going heavy. I said what I said. They fixed it. It's dead. Let's take this down, you know? And I think that's what we need to be as influencers. We shouldn't just be praising companies. We should really let them know openly, like, look, you guys messed up here. Like, this isn't right. What you're saying is not right. That's the challenge, yeah.
Challenge them to do better. Like, and, you know, I praise Gerald for that. You know, that's what it takes. Like we were saying, a reviewer should say the good and the bad, you know?
Yeah.
That's part of it. Like, you know, I want to know the bad.
Yeah, I want to, because it still made, again, that's why I said on paper, this camera has more cons than it does pros.
Mostly the price.
But that's
what
for
does
me.
it for me.
That's for me. Like to another person, like those cons that I see as cons may not be what they see as cons, you know? And so I still try to say it in the open light, but at the same time, it should be talked about as like a huge drawback because of that price and because of all the cons. There's so many other options available. Like if I was getting a starter cam for somebody, as that's who Lumix is kind of designing this to be, is like a entry level flagship camera, I'd still recommend ZV-1s to people. Like if I was to get a camera right now for my niece, I'm not gonna spend $1,600 for her. I'm gonna go get a $650 camera that arguably looks just as good, with no picture profile, and it's probably better in low light and has a Mach shift internal ND and a Zeiss zoom lens built into it. Like it just, there's so many, it already is like.
It's already better and better and
yeah,
better.
30-minute record limit, so double the time. You know, it's just already so many more wins. But again, I feel like the heart of this whole pitch and argument is being, forced to say nice things because a brand has done nice things for you.
And don't forget about the consumer. Like, it's your responsibility as a consumer to do your research. Like, don't just, influencers influence, but it's really up to you to read the specs like we do, dive down deep. What is it that you're looking for? What are your needs? How is this tool going to help you complete a job? Yeah. And, base your decision off of that. Like, that's what it ultimately comes down to.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you like a off the dome question. What do you think? And let's take we'll take all names and everybody's off, right? Like we're not talking about Lumix anymore. This is just a generic question. What do you think is worse? Brands soliciting for good reviews or reviewers misleading their audience? Like you have to pick one as worse.
Reviewers misleading because brands want to push their product. That's like since the beginning of time, since they came out with bread. Like, they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. We're going to start slicing it soon. It's going to come pre-sliced. They're always going to want to push their brand because they invested money in it, right? Yep. Now, the person who's influencing it, they're the reviewer. They're the person that people are going to with trust.
Right.
We trust you that you're the guru. You're the person who knows these things. You're the person who knows the things that I don't. I'm the beginner. And I'm learning from you. So you need to be the one telling the truth. And I get that, we all want to go to Japan. Like, that would have been fun.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong. But I think there needs to be a good balance between doing what, telling the truth and doing what's right, and also getting to go to Japan. Because let's face it, who wouldn't want to go?
Yeah, like I would have loved to go. But I still think for me, it would have been hard to create content around a camera that I personally didn't think was like I am looking at it on paper and going, I don't think this is a good camera. So even if I went to Japan, I don't think I would have made a video praising. I don't think I would have made any video, put it that way. Like I would have gone to Japan, I would have participated in whatever that they had, whatever keynotes, great, cool, yada, yada. I would have played with it out in Japan. And that's probably it. Like I wouldn't have, there would have been no short form video. My short form content would have been the fact that Panasonic brought me to Japan. That I would have been raving about the fact that I am in a blessed opportunity to now be able to be on a brand trip in Japan. It would have had nothing to do with the S9.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's an S9.
Yeah, like
but look at this over here.
Yeah, they dropped a new starter cam, and then back to Japan. Like now, I'm over here trying this for the first time. Like that would have been my content, but like I think a lot of people are really trying to maintain brand relationships, and to Gerald's point, we're disposable, in a sense of a corporate language, right? Like big box company. If you don't say the right thing, well, fine. They can send it right now to somebody who's got 200 followers on their channel. They could reach out to them and say, hey, we want to send you an S9. And I guarantee you that person is going to try harder at pleasing that brand than somebody like Gerald, who's got 400,000 followers and counting.
But who's going to fall off the map quicker? The person that the brands don't trust or the person that the consumers don't trust? Because Gerald kept lying to me. If every time I saw a video where Gerald was just in Japan, if he was in Holland or something, he just always coming out with these like junk cameras, I'm not going to listen to him anymore. I'm going to be like, you know, he's going to follow. Companies aren't going to send him stuff because he's going to lose people's trust.
Yeah, and people, I feel like companies will pick up on that too. Like brands will start to see like, didn't he just make a video about Sony being the best camera out, and now this one, and this one's got less specs than that one, and then now all of a sudden this one's the best one out. Like brands will start to pick up on that. But I think you're right. Like what's more important is that when you lose trust with your audience, that's it. Like you know what I mean? Like that's
going to be hard to get back. If
it's going to be hard. Yeah.
Because
you got to start a new channel.
Yeah.
Like
hence why I'm not Alex, you know.
For real though, man. I just wanted to touch on it. I know, you know, it's kind of I already gave it in this convo more energy than I wanted to give it. You know, I don't feel like that, you know, what Gerald said is directly you know, attacking or talking to certain content creators. I don't think, you know, like I don't feel like I wasn't triggered by it in any way, because like I've been saying from the beginning of all our content is I'm just trying to get better. Like I'm trying to get my films to a certain polished look, and I'm buying tools and using tools and reviewing tools that I actively use, with the exception of the monopod. But the monopod I was super excited about because of the innovation. I switched to the Easy Rig because I got tired of the clicking on the traditional monopod. If that was out, I probably would have had that years ago. But so that's why I made that video. But everything else, it's in my kit. I use it, you know? So
yeah, I think that was a good touch on everything, on all that. But I still think I would really like to see Gerald double down, like what you did with Rode, where you took another video, you took at it from another light. I think you even borrowed one, didn't you?
I want to say I borrowed it with Matt Johnson.
Yes.
I didn't end up making a third video, but I did make like a long enough like spiel on my story about how it actually worked, because it did stay accurate, but you know, it dies quick. You can't jam it from another device. Like there was like little quirks like that,
but there were positives to it. That's the thing, is it started off as like, it seemed like it was a really negative thing. Like, you know, everything about it was bad, which wasn't the truth. There was a lot of good. It just needed to be reworded. And maybe if Gerald could double down and look at it from a different light and find the good in it as well. And, you know, something like that. You know. That
actually would be cool, because then if he got his hands on it and could just test it and see exactly like how good or bad it is in person, you know, he buys it himself, right? At this point, I bought it with my own money. I wanted to check it out, whatever. You know, that would be cool to see. I don't know if we will, but either way, I don't think the camera is the problem. It kind of is, because, like I said, spec-wise, it's trash. That's just me. But and look, I'm saying it like, you know, LUMIX sent me the S5 Mark II. I don't care if they never send me another camera, because the way I look at it is I'm trying to get my work better. So right now, if LUMIX dropped the camera that I knew I needed and they, you know, they didn't send it to me, like it's not the end of the world. I will likely go buy it and incorporate it and probably still make a review about it if I felt like it was that good. So that's just how I feel. Like I'm trying to get better. I'm not trying to have like a YouTube channel and be sent every single product that ever hits the streets, and you know, every camera. Like I don't really care to have that. I want to be able to be honest. I want to be able to own my own content, because let's face it, if you get endorsed and you get backed by brands, they own you. They own that content. You don't have a voice anymore.
Yeah, you're done for. You've got to say what they want to say. You got to play ball.
Yep.
And that's all there is to it. So being an honest reviewer, I'm sure, is not always the easiest, but I praise anybody
that's doing it.
Who's doing it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, break the mold.
Yeah, man. Well, that's gonna wrap it, bro. I think this is a good convo. Lots of little things we got to talk about today. It's always fun, bro. Like I feel like you and I, this is what we do naturally, which is why we never get work done. And so the fact that we started doing it on the podcast is like perfect. It's like we can show up and air out all the stuff we want to talk about, and then it's a 2-for-1, because now other people can just listen to our thoughts, and that's dope. So
yeah, hopefully they take away from some of this, and we don't have to feel guilty about being distracted. You know, we need to separate our desks or something like that, because
it's not even that. Remember what I told you? Like we'd be like editing, and then like out of nowhere, like a whole bunch of new like nan lights show up, and we're like, oh snap! Like now we gotta pair everything, or the cart, bro. Like what cart?
Ooh, yes. More
Find
to
out
come.
next time on the next episode of JPM Uncut. Hit that second button, bro. That's a good way to segue out of this. Backtrack out.
Yeah.
What cart?
What cart?
All right, guys, you've been listening to JPM Uncut. It's your boy Justin and not Alex. Alex, tell the people where they can find you.
On Instagram, it's Burka.co Productions.
Let's get it, man. All right, y'all. We will see y'all next week. Same time, same place. Peace. You've been listening to JPM Uncut, and if you're serious about wanting to take your wedding films to the next level, I invite you to become a member of the JPM Live Academy. We host live interactive workshops and weekly group mentor calls built on open discussion. Become a member today and use the code UNCUT for 25% off your first 2 months. See you inside.